Hello, hello. This is KHTS Co-News Director Jade Abishan, and I am here today with Santa Clarita Congressman Mike Garcia. How are you doing today, Mike?
Hey Jade, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am doing very well. Like we were talking about, a little bit tired, but we're powering through. Now, it's been a
Good.
while since we heard about any updates on Afghanistan and the evacuation efforts from there, and your office specifically was helping refugees get to the United States as well as help get Americans out of that area. Where are you at now in terms of that whole operation?
Yeah, we're continuing to push this. This is an issue, unfortunately, that a lot of Americans, I think, have already forgotten about. It's kind of sad, but we still have more than, in our estimates, more than 400 Americans, including young students from California, who are still there, and as well as potentially thousands of special immigrant visas. These are our Afghan partners, translators, people who fought alongside Americans in Afghanistan over the last 20 years. And there's literally thousands of them left stranded. And this is one of these things that it requires a little perspective. But if you remember in 2010, the country was absolutely enthralled by the 33 Chilean coal miners that were stuck underground in these mines for something like 60, 70 days. We bent over backwards, spent a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of emotion and passion, hoping that these gentlemen got out of the coal mine. And frankly, we're not even showing that level of resolve or interest in the fact that we still have hundreds of Americans still very much in harm's way, stranded in Afghanistan. And so this is something that our office, we haven't taken our foot off the pedal. We continue to try to move folks around the country to keep them safe, but ultimately out of the country to get them home. And we've to date been very successful. About 108 folks we've gotten out of Afghanistan back into the United States, a blend of American citizens, SIVs, as well as legal permanent residents and visa applicants. So we're continuing to do that. This is despite any State Department efforts to block us or slow us down. And this is, without, frankly, the support of the State Department at all. So my office is continuing to run this like an operations center, and we're doing the best we can. There's a few congressional offices doing this. But I just ask that all Americans continue to pay attention, continue to pray for those who are still stranded over there. And we're pleading with this administration to go in and get our folks out and treat this with the severity that it needs to.
Oh, I'm sure that's very much appreciated. If you guys are just joining us, we are here with Congressman Mike Garcia, who's telling us about what he's been up to advocating for his constituents over the past couple of weeks. Mike, kind of keeping on this topic of immigration and refugees, let's pivot a little bit. We're talking about legal immigration, helping people get out of what is essentially a war zone at this point and helping refugees. Let's talk about illegal immigration. You just introduced the Illegal Immigrant Payoff Prohibition Act. What is that?
Yeah, so this effectively prohibits the administration, the White House, from paying out this $450,000 bucket of money to folks who have come here illegally. It's geared towards giving this $450,000 to families that were supposedly separated at the border. And so let's talk about that. First of all, that amount of money is absurd. That's actually more money that we would give illegal immigrants that we give family members of surviving veterans. Veterans who are killed in combat receive less money than what this president is proposing to give to illegal immigrants. The second thing is when we talk about families being separated at the border, and I've been to the border a few times and I've seen this. Currently, the current administration does still separate families at the border, and the reason families are typically separated at the border is when one of the adults that is escorting children, either the children don't belong to that adult, they claim them as a child, but maybe that child is actually not their child. They're just trying to get refuge across the border using the child. Or the adult is committing some other crime besides crossing the border illegally, where they're carrying an illegal handgun, carrying drugs, and or using the kids as mules. So it's similar to, getting a DUI in the United States. If you're pulled over for a DUI, clearly intoxicated, and you've got an infant in your back seat, they're going to separate the child from the parent in that case and go figure out how to take care of that child and who to give custody of that child while the parent is being processed. And this is typically what happens at our southern border, and especially under the prior administration when we actually enforced the laws at our southern border. So this is a ridiculous sham to pay out $450,000 to families that were separated at the border who came across the border illegally and probably had some other mitigating crime that they were committing in addition to coming across the border, like drug or weapon charges. This is absurd, but this is what our White House is currently looking at doing. So this prohibition bill that I'm a co-sponsor of effectively prevents that from happening. We'll see if it goes anywhere in this House. It's not clear under Pelosi that this is something that's going to actually move forward or not. But we've got to keep fighting this fight.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining that. If you're just joining us, we're here with Congressman Mike Garcia. He's given us some updates on what he's been working on over the past couple of weeks. Now, Mike, kind of keeping on speaking, this kind of related tangentially to veterans. You recently co-sponsored a bill to create a peer-to-peer program for veterans battling PTSD. We know Veterans Day is this week. Can you tell me more about this bill?
Yeah, this is very important, Jay. So that right now our veteran population is still struggling when they come out of active duty, or even while they're still on active duty. In many cases, we have a serious problem with PTSD, also traumatic brain injuries, also known as TBI. These things lead to very disruptive symptoms to the veterans' lives, and in a lot of cases, way too many cases, unfortunately, the veterans end up taking their own lives. And we're seeing nationwide right now an average of anywhere from 20 to 23 veterans killing themselves every day as a result of their experiences and the PTSD that they suffer from. So this peer-to-peer bill is effectively funding programs that expedite and help veterans get help from other veterans. And those of us who have served know that it's easier to talk to veterans sometimes when you're struggling than it is maybe to talk to a family member or even to a professional psychologist. So these peer-to-peer programs train veterans to learn how to more sort of professionally talk to other veterans, and it creates a network of support for veterans who are having dark thoughts so that they can get some help and have someone to talk to. And that is the path to ending these massive suicide rates is to actually get peer-to-peer and veterans helping veterans and getting them to just talk. Right now, the biggest problem is a lot of these veterans don't even want to talk; they're just silent. We call it suicidance because they literally go to their graves without ever talking to someone for help in many cases. So this is a noble piece of legislation. It's got bipartisan support. And hopefully goes a long way in helping our vets.
Yeah, I know we've talked in the past about just, this rough year has been rough for everybody in some way or another, but especially for veterans or people in general who already are in I want to say, delicate position like that, combined with pulling out of Afghanistan the way we did. I know we talked about how much that has
Yep.
affected veterans. And I believe you and we spoke in June, I believe, for a very special on PTSD about how everything has affected veterans. So I'm really hoping that this go through and manages to help people.
Yeah, and I think this one will be successful, and it ultimately will help people. So we're proud of this one, and you put it very succinctly there. These are very delicate times for a lot of veterans, and this has been an especially tough year. So we've got to start taking care. And it's not just the veterans; their families have to deal with it as well. The quality of life at home is impacted, and at the workplace as well. So this is something for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about until the aftermath is that suicide it affects one person most, but it's a ripple effect. It affects people going outwards, whether it's your family, your friends, your coworkers. It does affect people, and that is something that we want people to think about.
Absolutely. And I know you guys have experienced that there at KHTS, so
Hmm.
that firsthand knowledge is important to really educate people on and just how terrible of a disease this is.
Absolutely, and it is a disease. So let's moving on a little bit. Veterans Day is tomorrow. Do you have any plans or anything within the district in order to celebrate or at least honor Veterans Day?
Yeah, absolutely. So been bouncing around the district the last couple of days here, and tomorrow I'll be in Newhall at the Veterans Center there, in the Veterans Center Plaza. we'll be dedicating a little memorial to our good friend Bill Reynolds, who was he was a veteran himself, a Purple Heart recipient from Vietnam, and just one of the greatest advocates for veterans locally in Santa Clarita. So we'll love on him and unveil his memorial there, and then we have a formal Veterans Day ceremony there, and that kicks off, I believe, at 10 o'clock tomorrow in the plaza. 11 o'clock tomorrow, and I'll be speaking at that. And then Friday we've got a couple events in the district, just visiting local businesses. And then Saturday we'll have a nice Antelope Valley Veterans Ball up in the Lancaster area. So that'll be a great event to just pay tribute to our veterans who've given so much for our country and made those sacrifices. Even if you don't give your life, you give your quality of life away in many cases. And we need to just respect our veterans every day, but especially this time of year.
Oh, absolutely. For those of you who don't know, Bill Reynolds was our Director of Veteran Affairs here at KHTS. He was very heavily involved in the local veteran community. I was actually going through some old photos of mine the other day from, I believe, 2016, and I found a photo of him and I from when I was in my second college English class, and I actually helped with the letter writing campaign to put up the memorial wall at the Memorial Plaza, and it's a picture of him and I together. So
Oh, very cool. Well,
yeah.
thanks for helping him with that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, he was a real hero, and he passed away last year,
January,
and so
yeah.
we're coming up on that and anniversary, and so this is one way for us to just help us all heal, help pay tribute to him, and memorialize him at the site that he was one of the key guys in opening that plaza there. So thank you for supporting him.
Yeah, of course. You'll actually be able to find a special story on him later today that features testimonials from friends and family about what a helpful person he was to the local veteran community. So please keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll read that for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for everything you talked about with us. We are coming to the end of our time here with you. What can we expect to see from your office in the next couple weeks?
Well, like I said, I'll be here this week in the district, just visiting constituents, small businesses, and organizations locally. Next week, we're going to keep fighting the fight out in D.C., and, we've got these large spending bills. The House just passed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, which I support infrastructure, but this was about 3 times bigger than what it needed to be, and unfortunately, this is going to lead to higher taxes for all Americans before it actually leads to meaningful infrastructure. So we're looking down the barrel now of another $5 trillion tax and spend program, and that's will be the center of the debate here next week and going into December as we try to figure out how to pay for this government that the progressives are trying to blow up. So that's the fight we've got, and hopefully be in the district in late November and early December as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining this afternoon, Mike.
Thanks, Jade. I appreciate you. Take care.
You too. For our listeners out there, you'll be able to read more about Congressman Garcia and what he's been up to in Washington over on our website at hometownstation.com or at social media at KHTS Radio.